Good afternoon and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live, hosted by myself, Melissa Cicciola, co-founder and director of management consulting and service excellence here at Promethy Consultants. It's a pleasure to welcome you today to this LinkedIn Live, and we're just going to give ourselves a couple of seconds to allow everyone to be able to connect and join us, and we will get underway. So for those who have maybe not been to one of our LinkedIn Lives before or a webinar that we've hosted, these events are about 45 minutes to an hour long. Today's session has been planned for 45 minutes. The goal is that I'm going to go through different elements of content, walk you through the state of the market, vision of service, and I'll be able to take some questions normally as well. So if you are interested, if you have certain questions in particular you want me to answer, feel free to write them down in the chat of the LinkedIn live stream or the actual chat section of today's event, and it'll be my pleasure to get back to you. If we don't have time for me to address all of the questions today, then I will be able to follow up with you directly from via LinkedIn, or you can feel free to come to one of our other events and ask me there. It's always a pleasure for me to interact with different people and see what it is that's top of your mind, so I can jump into those wonderful conversations. So today's session is really a state of the market overview. So how's AI transforming the service industry? What is our version of the future of customer experience? What is customer service going to look like in the future? Thanks to the arrival of AI, and we've got some ideas on that here at Promethy, and it's going to be our pleasure to be able to walk you through those different ideas. So without further ado, I propose that we dive in to this content. So, as I mentioned before, my name is Melissa Cicciola. I am the co-founder and director of management consulting and service excellence here at Promethy. I've got a background of about, oh my goodness, I'm going to date myself, about 25 years in the industry. I started agent on the phones. I got to work through different groups of support systems. So I worked with workforce planning, quality assurance, projects, and then frontline teams. I was privileged to manage and lead frontline teams in different levels of in organizations before leaving to join Promethy and start this wonderful adventure. So Promethy, who are we? What do we do? We are a consulting firm who is specialized in really transforming the customer experience in regulated industries. Experts, technology, results, that's kind of what we're looking for on a regular basis. How do we ally those together and help our customers be able to connect the dots in those fields? So we really make it easy to access cutting edge technology and put you in connection with the best experts in order to minimize risks and really achieve tangible outcomes. And we do this through the deployment of AI projects as well as other projects in terms of optimization. But really, we have a specialty in the field of AI, and our goal is really to be able to drive customer experience and really help out customers in the regulated sectors. We have that specialty. So today we are here to dive into some of the important topics in terms of AI. So AI, a topic we hear all the time. It's on everybody's lips. It is really the core topic that whenever I walk into a room, whenever I'm talking to somebody, it comes up in conversations. I don't need to be the one that brings it. It is guaranteed going to come up. One of the things I noticed over the last couple of months, and I've talked about more and more these days, so whether it's been here on LinkedIn through different posts or at different events that I've had the opportunity to participate in, I find that AI kind of takes a position. There is two kind of viewpoints, and people find themselves in two camps. There is the first camp where people believe that AI is here for the better. We are going to transform and revolutionize business. It is only good. Don't understand why people can't see the good in it and are focused on the negative. And so they like our image here. They speak to like the Jarvises of this world. How is AI going to really transform business? And they really look at it in the super positive way. There's no place for anything else. And then you have the other camp where AI is little doom and gloom. People are going to lose jobs. People are going to lose their place in industries. Things are going to shift dramatically, and AI is here to like it's frankly going to dumb us down. It's going to make us less intelligent. It's going to spoon feed us the answers. It's bad. It's controlling. It's all of it. Okay, so you think you understand the two camps. And what I found is when people kind of go down that road and they decide to position themselves in one camp or the other, it's difficult to come out of it. So the argument happens. Oh, you don't see this, you don't see that. Oh, well, you don't see my perspective. And so it kind of like goes in circles and circles and circles. And nobody is really able to advance in the conversation. And at the same time, like, it's like it's all of that. It's there's no one or the other. In reality, it's a mixture of everything. And when you decide to kind of pull yourself out of that argument and you don't fall into the trap of one camp or the other, and you start to look at the situation differently, you start to ask the question differently, you're able to really step back and start to see, well, what is it capable of doing? When can I use it? When do I want to use it? What are the impacts that it's really going to have on my organization? And what is it that I want it to have as an impact? And actually start to take decisions, to start to see practical cases, allows us to fall into more of an action mode and start to see things as really being able to realize its full potential and be able to kind of maximize its benefits for our organizations without letting go of those negative aspects that are always present. But it's not an argument that we can win. It almost becomes like philosophical of he said, she said, this is right, this is wrong. There's no right or wrong. In reality, there's always gray and it always all coexists. But when we stay stuck in those discussions of, oh my gosh, it's this or that, it's difficult for us to kind of fall into action and start to take decisions and be able to position ourselves. And so how do I know that? Well, there's a bit of personal experience here. So I myself was sitting in a conference not too long ago, a little less than 2 years ago. And I used to sit there and say, okay, well, people were talking about AI and its potential and how it was going to transform business. And my customers were asking me about it. And I was like, well, yeah, we could do this and we could do that. But I'm like, but let's not get too excited. AI, it doesn't do that great. And especially like we're a firm located here in Montreal, Quebec. French is super important. And I always kept a moment of, oh, well, AI can do this, but I don't know if it can do that in French. And we'll see one day if it can get there in French. And when more and more customers were talking to me about the kind of projects that they were looking to do and the analysis they want to have, and we as a firm kind of took a step back and said, well, more and more of our projects are going in the accompaniment of technology and the delivery of AI. We need to take a positioning. And we took a drastic kind of positioning in terms of that and said, no, this is what we want to do. And this is going to become our focus. So I had to shift myself out of my own little paradigm. And so what we did as a team is we sat down and we said, okay, well, how are we going to reposition? How are we going to figure this out? How are we going to help our customers lead the charge and be at the forefront of how AI is going to transform customer service? We sat down and we started brainstorming and we started imagining, okay, if AI could do this, I'd want it to listen to my calls. I'd want it to be able to help me simply see the results. I'd like it to help my agents. We started imagining all kinds of wonderful things. We were super excited and we didn't know where we were going. but we were saying we're going to figure it out. And one of those things, we built up a plan. We started deploying tools. We started working more and more on developing the first AI use cases for customers and different innovation labs. And how are we going to help see what is actually out there? And part of that was repositioning ourselves and going to see in the market what is actually being deployed, what is out there, because locally, you only see so much. And what we were seeing wasn't very advanced. And so that kind of hesitation that I had always had about, well, maybe AI will do that, there was a reason it was present. It's because I hadn't seen anything that made me believe otherwise. So as a firm, we decided we're going to go outside and we're going to see what's happening elsewhere in the world. Where is the market actually? And so about a year ago, we started repositioning in terms of like, where is the market? And pulling that data source, and that's some of the stuff I'm going to share you today and what I've seen over the last year in terms of evolution of that market. So the first step is we went to London. We stepped out of Canada completely. We went to Europe, and London hosts a enormous contact center expo where they invite the latest and greatest technologies, conferences, and different events around a week. So I headed to London, and I don't know if you know the expression, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, the first moment that I walked into that event is I realized things were not like at home. We don't have the same kind of events here in Canada, not the same caliber, the same level, and that was just from simply walking into the space. And what I started to see when I went and I started talking with different companies in the industry, other consultants, other technology companies, and funny enough, some of their clients, because at this kind of event is they had clients who had successfully deployed projects with them there to kind of answer questions. I really started to realize that things were not as I had always imagined. The quality of the conferences, the sharing, the use cases. I sat down and I remember sitting in my first conference and I looked at my my phone and I'm looking at the screen in front of me and I'm texting my colleague back in Montreal and I said, "What's agentic AI? Have you ever heard of that?" And he wrote back, he's like, "No, never heard of that." He goes, "It must be some sort of like marketing gimmick." And I'm like, I don't know. It seems to be pretty real because they're talking about like a use case that was deployed in an organization. So I think it's something, and that just shows you the gap. Now, today most of us have heard about agentic AI, and if you haven't, go look it up. Next step, it's past our generative AI step. It's the next phase of evolution of AI, especially in the fields of customer service and agent support. But what it started to show me was, okay, there is definitely a large gap. And not only were they talking about it as the next best thing, they had clients who had deployed the first use cases in their organizations. So they were beyond generative AI, and they are now in the new era of like agentic AI models, where they are deploying those use cases in their organizations, and they were coming to share in their conferences what have they learned, what's going well, what's not going well. So you see my comment of we're not in Kansas anymore. We're not at all on the same playing field. And so this was like a shift, a profound shift and a decision moment. And we decided to position ourselves in regard to the fact that we wanted to say we are shaping today. Our mission at Promethe is we are going to help organizations shape the future of service today. We can no longer stay in the, oh my gosh, this huge gap that I was living when I went outside. It couldn't continue. It had to change. We had to be able to say to organizations here in Montreal, here in Quebec, here in Canada, the future is like what you're imagining. It's already here. And we wanted to take position and say, we are going to help organizations do that today. So as of today, we are going to immediately start shaping that future of service and help redefining it. And so what does the future of service look like when we sit down and we look at it? I would be remiss if I couldn't say to you that I would talk about customer service and not talk about Disney. So everybody knows Disney in the space of customer service. They are one of the most reputed brands out there for the quality of the customer service that they are able to deliver. And that comes not just from like the choice of the people who make a huge difference. There is a definition of service at Disney. It's a posture. It's an attitude. It's a tone. It's a feeling that they create, and they do that, yes, by their people, but they also do that by their processes that are in place. The design of service is super important, and they do that a lot with technology, and they use technology at a large scale to be able to attain incredible levels of customer service. When I talk to organizations, everybody looks at me like, yes, it's beautiful. Everybody wants the Disney dream, but Disney is really unattainable. It's almost out of reach. It's very difficult to replicate that because we don't have the same, like, we're not all creating magic. Fair. But then it goes further than that. They don't have the same budgets. They don't have the same audiences. They don't have the same flexibility or the amount of experience, and all of that is true. And what I'm seeing in the market is that with the arrival of these AI tools and how they're helping shape customer service today, I'm starting to see that more and more companies are going to be able to afford to start to create those Disney experiences at scale, similar to the way that Disney does, but without needing the budgets that Disney did, and without needing the level of commitment and effort either. So AI is going to be a big leverage button to be able to kind of go and get that and help them to deploy those elements. So the future of service, the way we see it, is really being able to deliver personalization at scale. And, we talked about that 20 some odd years ago with the arrival of CRMs. CRMs were the tool that was going to help create personalization at scale. And it never actually happened. And why didn't it happen? There's lots of theories, but we know that we are way too dependent on human beings having to input all of those data points and all of that information. So the arrival of AI into the portrait allows us to be less dependent on where humans are not really good in that attention to detail, rigor of entering all of those different elements, and to be able to kind of capture that for us and let us be better where we're better in terms of building that connection, that tone, that discussion, the information when situations require it. And so, as you can imagine, if that's what we're saying, if AI is going to take a bigger place and start taking part of that work, obviously what's going to happen is that the nature of work is going to evolve. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. But there's one thing that is for sure in my mind, that there is always going to be a human element in customer service. It's never going to go away. For a long time in the industry, people told me voice is dead, the future is digital. Yes, there is a lot of digital. Voice is not dead. Voice is not going to die. And in fact, it's really interesting. One of the big movements we're seeing in the market of the evolution of service is that voice is there. AI is going to take a portion of the voice, an interesting portion, if things continue to go the way they're going. And so voice is definitely not dead, but voice itself could actually become part of the digital channel if you imagine it in its AI structure. And so what we imagine as the future of service is really this model that I'm going to show you here on the screen. Personalized experiences that are going to be powered by AI. And so customers are going to call in, and as they're greeted today, typically through an IVR, what's going to end up happening is the IVR is going to be an AI voice agent. And the AI voice agent is going to handle a certain percentage of conversations. And I would be confident to say, I believe it's actually going to be able to handle upwards of 50% of the conversations autonomously by itself as an AI voice agent. And then it's going to have certain cases which are going to go traditionally to an agent, a human agent who's going to handle the conversation. And so, as you can see on the bottom edge, that's what we see. So it's welcomed, it's integrated, the need, everything is filtered through like an IVR voice agent. It's going to be handled through the AI, and then it's going to go through to the human agent to end up with a satisfied customer resolved initially. The second element is the top part of what we see here. And so it's going to go through the AI voice agent, and it's going to stay with the AI voice agent. And it's going to handle from end to end the entirety of the interaction to end up with a satisfied customer. Now, this model is actually already deployed in certain organizations. So this is not just a dream of could it be, it is what we believe is the future of where service is going. And all organizations are going to end up with a model that is going to look like this in the future. Now, the percentage of interactions that are going to be able to be handled, I think, is going to vary based on industry. You're probably going to have industries that are going to try to go 90 to 95% all the way up there, and others that are going to go a little bit lower. But I think it's not unimaginable for customers to aim for being able to deploy an AI voice agent to handle up to 50% easily of their conversations, based on what I know of my 25 years in the industry on different types of call solutions. So why am I confident enough to say that, other than I know that the AI voice agents and the robots are there, and I've seen them in action, and I've accompanied through the workflows of different of those projects, so we can see how they come to be and how they're put into place. Let me tell you a little bit more about some of the technologies that we've seen that are going to be able to help us realize this vision of service and make it as robust as possible. Because today it's not the percentages that I'm giving you are not actually there yet, but this is where it's going. And so why am I confident in being able to say that that's going to be feasible? The first element in the big step of technology in the market that we've seen was the arrival of conversational analytics. So conversational analytics is plugged into your calls, but it's not just calls when we're talking about conversational analytics these days. We're talking about across all of your interactions, across all of your channels. So imagine being able to plug in your AI agent and saying, okay, I want you to go and look at every single interaction in my organization all of the time, in real time, constantly. So having your finger on the pulse of your organization on real time, all the time. So what it does is it's listening, it's categorizing, it's putting call reasons, it's doing quality management at scale, 100% of your interactions. So we're talking calls, we're talking emails, we're talking chats with your agents, we're talking your robot chats even. Imagine conversational analytics, the robot is watching the robot. It's a fabulous model. And so this is one of the big movements we've seen. In fact, today, I can't imagine any customer starting a project in AI who wouldn't start by this. Understanding what it is your clients are frustrated about, how they're feeling, what they want, what they need, what is working in your business, what isn't working, how your teams are performing, and having that view and being able to then make decisions based on that, it's really, really revolutionary. It's the first step in what the AI transformation is going to bring. So just that knowledge to then deciding where should we go next? What's our next use case? What should we deploy after that? It just makes so much sense. It's like your first starting point, almost your cornerstone of deploying AI in your organization. You should absolutely be doing this. If you want to know a couple of the leaders in the industry, people I've seen, whether it's in English and French, if you're looking for that kind of stuff, let me know. I can absolutely put you into connection on that. And when we're talking conversational analytics, we're talking about being able to do CSAT. We're talking about being able to tag your call reasons. We're talking about being able to detect tone as well. There's a couple great products that are really focused on tone these days that I've seen, and that the tone makes all of the difference in your customer experience and how people are living it. And we're even going so far as being able to gauge the effort of your customers, how they feel in regards to the effort without ever having to send a single survey again. We're elsewhere. We're just elsewhere. The second element of technology that I've seen put into practice and that is actually making a difference in organizations today is everything in regards to those voice agents, that vision of service that I drew out for you before. This is where it happens. So a year ago, the debates were all about, okay, well, how are we going to use generative AI in chats, and are we going to be able to use agentic AI in chats, and that's where things were shifting. Today, here in Montreal, this is where I see a lot of organizations are still having the debate. Should we allow a generative AI chatbot to go live customer facing? A lot of organizations are positioning them internally, but are not comfortable enough putting them externally. The market is just elsewhere. Outside of Canada, the market is not just in the use of generative AI in their chatbots, they are in agentic models, and they are using AI voice agents. So chat is almost outdated. Chat is pretty much a given nowadays. And in just the year since I've been to London and when I went to Vegas last month to take another temperature check of where our market has moved, that's the big gap. No, it's a given. Everybody's going to have the chat feature. Now where it's at is the voice element. And not everybody does it equally. Not everyone has the speed of response, but there are organizations that have it. There are systems that are doing it, and they are doing it really, really well in multiple languages, with a personality, a personalization, and it's really up to the customer to choose. I chatted with one yesterday that was joking around with me while I was going through the process of simulating a flat tire. Thank goodness it was a simulation. Wouldn't have liked to have lived that for real. But it's really, it's the next step. And this is where the shift in customers service is really going to happen. And I'm going to talk to you about a bit more about that in a couple of minutes, but just keep that in mind. Start imagining in your organization if 20%, 30%, 50% of your conversations are handled by a voice agent. What does that look like for your operations? What does that look like as an impact in terms of even your subscriptions in your CCaaS systems? These are the questions that I want us to kind of like explore. The last technology is really the future of CCaaS. You may have heard or not the announcements from some of the Microsoft leaders saying CCaaS is dead, kind of like voice was dead in the past. And you know, maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. But I'm not going to lie, where I'm seeing some of the technology companies going in the platforms that they're creating, how they're going to be using the conversational robots that we use today, like a Copilot, for example, as the main interface for agents in how they're going to navigate your customer interactions. It is mind-blowing. It took me a couple of sessions actually to sit down and fully grasp what it was going to look like, because I was so 25 years in the industry. I'm so drilled in what a contact center system looks like and how an agent should have to navigate it that I couldn't even conceptualize it at first. I was saying, I'm sorry, what is the agent going to do? But the agents are literally in the future. From the design models that I've seen and where I think the market is going is it's going to be an agent chatting with a Copilot, and Copilot feeding it. Okay, I heard this in your conversation. Here's this from your knowledge base. I'm going to put this note in the CRM. I'm going to execute this task. So the agent's jobs are going to be its navigation of how it asks Copilot questions, how it generates the information, and how it executes the tasks, but from a much, much different interface of the future. And all of this is going to be hugely dependent on the knowledge bases, the databases that we're going to create to feed those kind of systems. And I mean, the great news is that knowledge bases have been trying to be put into AI models for a couple of years now. There's a lot of lessons learned. There's a lot of great models that are out there that can give you the structure you need to create a solid knowledge base and be able to have something that's going to actually be able to support your agents. And so obviously AI is the opportunity. It is the future of the major transformation we are seeing in regard to the customer service, contact center, customer experience industry, all of that combined. It's changing at a pace that's never before seen. So you talk to people in the industry where we used to be in cycles of 2 years, every 2 years, we'd see a major shift in the change. These changes practically are happening every quarter. And so to stay up to date is so, so important. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is that Canada is just falling further and further behind, and especially at that pace of change. So the promise of artificial intelligence here, it's not a surprise. I mean, the massive cost reduction, the better customer retention and loyalty, the increase in revenues, and the stronger employee engagement are things that are just uncontestable. I didn't mention it, but when we were talking about the voice agents, one of the demos, and it's not just a demo. I keep saying demos because I get to test them out. But one of the use cases that was put forward is when you have these agents that are selling, that are upselling, that are cross selling, and we're talking even in regulated industries. So in insurance models, it's what's happening. It's the models that are actually gaining the most traction in being able to move forward. So, what's this going to change? What's the shift that we're going to see? Obviously, huge, huge impacts in your organizations. And I think you've started to imagine those with some of the things that I've been sharing with you, the jobs, the skills, like the major shift in our teams. Yes, the work of the agents, but as leaders of those teams, if you have QM on all of your calls, what is that going to look like for you? As an executive, what is your social kind of responsibility? What is your interest in saying, how do you want to use AI? What's going to happen to your teams if you take 50% of your calls by an AI agent? Yes, I know in our market we're facing issues in terms of productivity, wait times. Just the workforce is shrinking because we have more people who are exiting than entering with retirement and new people on the market. I know that there's huge shifts here, but there is still going to be a gap that we're going to have to cover. And so, how are we going to rethink the work of tomorrow? What are the new jobs we're going to need? All of that is to come and imagine. It's a really exciting time and concerning time. It can almost give you vertigo. The thing I would invite us to do is not let the vertigo freeze us in action and really start to take action, start to ask ourselves these questions and start to move forward. Obviously, for the technology teams, there's also huge questions. How are these systems going to integrate? What is our architecture of the future going to look like? Is everything going to just be separate pieces? There's lots of questions to have to ask ourselves in regards to that. And so when we say it's reshaping our organizations, there's also some big questions here of how is it going to shape the industry? So technology providers are going to have big questions. I mean, just imagine your classic CCaaS systems. If we say tomorrow 50% of your interactions are with an AI voice agent, all of those licensing models that exist today are called into question. Outsourcing. Today, we use an enormous amount of BPOs, but if you can have an AI voice agent that handles those interactions instead, are you going to still consider using a BPO? So what's that shift going to have on that industry? Even our integrators, how is that going to continue to evolve in their roles? How are they going to continue to see the integration pieces? Because there's a lot of the integration that happens in terms of the licensing models, again, in terms of the recurring support that happens as well. What's that framework going to look like? And even industries like mine in the consulting services, there's new needs. Things are evolving very quickly. How do we stay up to date? How do we best support and be able to deploy these technology solutions in a way that's going to be true to the organizations and help them succeed and attain those results? One thing is for sure is that customers are not going to wait. So about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we started to see the shift. Customers started to compare customer service, customer experiences across industries. Amazon did a really, really big, it had a huge contribution to that. I mean, when I started getting packages within a day or two versus when I would order from somebody who wasn't Amazon and I was having to wait like a week, I started to say, well, why can't they get it as fast as Amazon? Like, what's the delay? So we as humans have started to compare our experiences already across industries for a while now. People who do it really well make it so that we start to say, oh, well, if they can do it, why can't they do it? And our expectation moves. Customers' expectations have grown over the last years, and they are just going to continue to do so. And with the arrival of AI in organizations, the organizations who are going to choose AI, who are going to start deploying it, who are going to do it well, they're going to see already a result because customers are going to start to compare across organizations that use it or don't. And there's going to be no excuses. If an organization deploys it and they're able to answer their calls immediately and you haven't, and your customers are still waiting 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour to talk to you, how much patience are they going to have? And so those who fail to adapt, they're taking a risk. I think the image kind of speaks for itself. Everybody knows the story of Blockbuster. They saw Netflix coming. They camped down and said, nope, that's not going to affect us. We don't believe the industry is going to shift. It's a choice they made, and they live with the consequences of that today. So it's a choice that each organization is going to have to make into the future. And the question, I guess, comes down to like, where do you want to position yourselves? It's an exciting time, but it's also a very destabilizing time. So the good news, good news, bad news. In AI projects today, you may have heard the stat. There's about 80% of AI projects that still don't succeed. That sounds enormous. Today, I'm going to invite us to look at the 20% that do succeed. What are those 20% doing differently? What is it that they have done that is making it so that their projects are finding success? I've got a couple of ideas. I've got a framework, and I've got some best practices that I'm going to share with you next. So the first step that they do is they start to think about, what does AI look for them in their organization? What's their use case? What can it do? What will it do? Step out of your everyday. It's going to help you start to really remove the limits. I highly recommend going to get help. Get somebody who's seen other things, who can share it with your organization, who can inspire your team to dream and start to see what is really possible, so that you step back and you take all of the limits and beliefs out of it. And you get out of those two camps that we were talking about at the beginning of our live. I can help you with this. I can recommend other people to help you with this. The really recommend, get help, get somebody to do it with you. We too often stay stuck in what we know, and then we never advance forward, unfortunately. Focus on what matters. So decide for your organization what is going to have a high impact. Choose a use case that's going to deliver great results, but is also maybe, depending on your environment, maybe you want something that's going to deliver great results, but have not a huge change management because your teams are already saturated, they're already tired, but you want to step forward. You want to start seeing what's the best opportunity. I would say is like really determine for you what matters. Be selective. Don't try to do too much at once. You're going to do the exercise. You're going to say, oh, we've got 3 fabulous use cases. We're going to launch all 3. We're going to start 3 streams. All 3 are going to go. Don't do it. Focus on really, really what matters and be selective. Start with one first. Bring it to term. Deliver it. Create excitement. Create success. Make sure that you're going to succeed in it. Don't be part of the 80% who fail. Prepare your environment. Prepare your environment technology-wise. Prepare it for your people, your managers, your leadership team, everybody. Get them on board, get them engaged. Make the effort to prepare your environment for what's coming. And then make sure that you're able to measure your results, measure your impact, and celebrate them. You want to create excitement. Today, what we see is so many people try different AI solutions with mixed results. And so everybody's kind of on the fence. Is it good? Is it not good? And is it good at this? Is it not good at this? If you create those conditions and find success, you're going to be able to create the right environment, and success will be able to like deploy and build up. So what are the conditions for success in those 80% that the 20% that succeed, the 80% who fail. Conditions for success in those 20% is, well, oftentimes we are working with people who've done the work in their knowledge bases, in their documentation, to focus on a single source of truth. When you're conflicting sources of truth, that's where you start to get into a slippery slope of the quality and the accuracy of your responses from your tools. Single source of truth. I've got tips and tricks. Reach out to me. We'll talk about it. Number 2, data is king. Oh my goodness. Being able to measure, being able to follow, track, see it evolved is hugely important in being able to speak to the impact, to the results, and do what it is that you are doing to deliver. Organization here where we have the success, there is a willingness to change present in the organization, whether it was already existing or they made the effort to create that willingness to change. There was a strong foundation of that willingness to try and do things differently. Innovation, change, all of that was present. This one I get a lot of debate on, C-suite driven change. So oftentimes you hear in projects, oh, it should come from the bottom up. And we do, you absolutely need to have your frontline teams involved. But in this kind of transformation, there is so much ideology, there's so much investment, beliefs, a direction. It needs to be a C-suite driven change. You need your executives leading the charge. The ownership has to be there. The belief, the effort, the drive, it has to be there. That attention needs to be there for them to find success. That's what we've seen. They have to do it with their frontline teams, but that drive has to be in the C-suite. Trust needs to be built. It takes time. So you need the first use cases to go well. You need, when you have use cases, too many proofs of concepts that fail, distrust is present. It's going to be difficult to build that trust. So you need to build on that trust, and successfully focusing on 1 or 2 use cases that are going to work well and delivering them well is going to build that trust. Focus on concrete use cases. Step out of that. It's good or it's bad. It's not all or it's nothing. There are fabulous use cases. There are bad use cases. Focus on the ones that are right for your environment. Make sure that they are adapted for you. And this feeds to my next one. One size does not fit all. You really need to take the time and the effort to look at your organization, your reality, your maturity, your experience, what's right for you. And that's going to make all of the difference. So I'm coming up to the end almost of what we've got. I've got 3 actions that I would invite you to take right now. Go forward and take these 3 actions. The first one is keep learning continuously. Things are changing so fast. I told you, every quarter things are moving. Book time in your agenda. Every week, make sure you try and step out of what it is you know. Step out of your current sources of information. Go look larger, go look elsewhere, go look in other places in the world. What is happening? I can tell you they are light years ahead of us in regard to that. Start now. Go for the low-hanging fruit, but start now. Start right now. We are already behind. If things are moving at that speed of change, waiting 6 months to see how things go. You guys saw my Blockbuster picture before. I don't want that for anybody who's watching today or any of my customers or anything like that. I really think that there is a huge risk that inaction and immobilization and hoping to weather the storm and wait and see that it's going to have on organizations. Lead strategic thinking. The future is being built today. Start with that strategic thinking. Step out, ask yourselves the questions, move forward, and see where it's going to take us. It's really, the future is being built today. It says it all. So how can we help you do that? Promethe has a couple of events upcoming. There's a QR code here on your screen. Feel free to scan that. It'll give you a little Microsoft Forms where you can fill out that you want to be updated on our upcoming events. We have two that are coming up soon. August 21st, we're doing an executive breakfast. We want to ask really the tough thought questions here of how do we navigate the transformation of the future of service, the world of service, your organizations? What are the big questions you need to ask yourselves? We're going to help you do that. And then the October 7th is a invitation-only conference event where we are going to be bringing some of those amazing technologies from outside of Canada in on an invitation basis. We're going to have keynote speakers, immersive workshops, and demos of those different solutions. So if you want to sign up to experience that, please scan the QR code and let us know, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Please stay connected. It is a pleasure to take this time with you today. I see that I spoke the entire 45 minutes. That went really, really fast. I hope that it was helpful for you guys. I had a great time sharing all that information with you. It's an exciting time. It's a very destabilizing time. I told you, vertigo. Both can coexist. And how we kind of move forward and the actions we can take is really like the next steps. But please think back to those 3 actions and go into action today. Thank you for joining us again. And like I said, if there's those questions that I didn't have a chance to get to, so sorry about that. Next time I'll take the full hour. Then we'll be able to kind of get back to you on LinkedIn or by email, and don't hesitate to reach out. Wishing you all a great day, a great weekend if you're watching this in live. If it's not live, a great rest continuation of your day. And I hope to see you all soon. Take care.